It's time for another personal curriculum. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is my second month doing personal curriculums. I've got these little cards to help keep me on track with everything, along with a official, filled out, fleshed out, fully detailed Substack post that is free for everybody to check out if you're interested, and I will have linked down below. Before we get into the plans for December, let's go over how November went and talk about some of the learnings that I'm taking from November and transferring over into December. Now, let's just say November was quite the failure in a how many of the things that I planned out to do did I actually do sort of way, but it was a great learning experience, which was technically the plan. So it was very successful in that way. Gotta take the win where you can get it. So here are some of the books that I ended up reading for the curriculum. The main goal was for me to work on building a foundation so that I can do a writing exercise. I really want to write a full-length novel from start to finish, but I tend to get in over my head and it takes forever. So I thought, why don't I do a exercise where I take some sort of existing work and reimagine it in a way so that I have the foundation and I can just use that to go from start to finish and kind of get out of my head a little bit. Unfortunately, if you've seen the last video, I decided to do that with Wuthering Heights. Now, I actually still want to do this, but for my first exercise and my first attempt, I feel like this is a terrible idea. As I started rereading, I realized all of the complexities, and because part of me really wanted to embody the original essence of the story, it just required way too much research and foundational work for me to do. So I did start my reread of Wuthering Heights, but I didn't finish it. I didn't get that far. It's something I'm still going to have to do. In addition to that, I did start Jane Eyre, which I was really enjoying. Now, I wanted to continue this, but kind of when everything fell apart, I was like, maybe it doesn't make sense for me to do this anyway, because this is actually supposed to be an option for a series that we're going to be getting on the channel. So I feel like I should save it for that. And I'm just going to really hope it happens sooner rather than later, because the little bit that I did end up reading, I was thoroughly enjoying. So I'm excited to get this in the future so that I could read it. I did read the section of this book that I was supposed to. So I read that, realized exactly how difficult Wuthering Heights was for my objective, and then I ended up reading the easiest formatted story skeleton and decided that I would use that instead, which was Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And so I did end up reading this for the month to kind of give me a deeper idea. So that wasn't on the original plan, ended up being swapped in. I did also completely finish Stephen King's On Writing, which I really enjoyed, and it got me really excited about what I can do for my project, my writing exercise. And so, inspired by this book, I did end up working on a little bit of a outline for my version of Alice's Adventure in Wonderland, which is a gothic novel with an older protagonist. And I did even start working on the rough draft. I found myself still struggling a little bit with that and finding excuses to put it off, which to some degree were legit excuses because things were busy and stuff like that. But in other ways, it was just me getting in my head again over the project and letting that stop me from making progress. So there are several things that I ended up learning from November's attempt at a personal curriculum. One of the main things that I ended up learning from my first attempt was that I need a more fleshed out plan to start off with. I realized that I ran into a couple of issues in the November plan because it was kind of so wishy-washy in what I was hoping to do, and I didn't think everything out. My idea was, oh, I would be doing some of the research on Wuthering Heights maybe for the first 2 weeks, and then I would actually work on writing the second 2 weeks, since I had two things that should happen at different times, working on them at the same time. And I didn't really think through it, so I found myself wanting to work on writing right off the bat, but then knowing that things weren't figured out, so then I would just stall. And a lot of that could have been avoided if I broke everything down a little bit more in advance. So that's what I'm trying to do with the December plan. On top of that, I did try and work off of a major objective, which I think was a really good idea. But because I only had one really large objective, which was to make progress towards the writing exercise, when things didn't work out, everything kind of fell apart. Whereas if I had a lot of smaller objectives that would be achievable in the short run, I feel like even though the big things needed to change, I probably could have continued making progress on the smaller stuff and not have it be as big of a letdown as it ended up being, at least for me. And lastly, I do need to say this was a really good reminder that I need to stay flexible and be aware that sometimes things just aren't going to work out. Life got into the way, work got into the way, I got in the way. All kinds of things happened, and it's okay that I wasn't able to do everything that I wanted to in November. Hopefully in the future, the plans will be a little bit more solid and I'll be able to readdress some of the stuff that I was hoping to do this month in later months. So it's not a full failure. It's just a learning experience. With that being said, I did decide moving forward that I wanted to break things out into focuses based off of some of these smaller objectives that I end up having. The first focus for December is Charles Dickens. Now, that may seem like a very random focus, but I did think it would be fun to read classic Christmas stories for December, and obviously Charles Dickens does A Christmas Carol. I have read this before, so it would be a reread, and I was kind of on the fence on whether or not I should go in this direction until I realized my last trip of the year gives me the opportunity to go to the Dickens Fair in California. So I'm going to be utilizing a work trip to stay a little bit longer, go to the Dickens Fair over the weekend, and do a fun Dickens reading vlog and travel vlog all rolled up into one. So I have A Christmas Carol plus Oliver Twist, two stories that are featured within the fair. I know this is, I've gone to the Dickens Fair quite a lot in the past, honestly. I'm a huge fan of the event. I thought it would be fun to document it in a more focused way. So these are the books that I'm going to be reading and bringing with me. And then I also have two supplementary reads that I will be focusing on in these two books. So David Cecil writes about Charles Dickens in his early Victorian novelist. So I'll be reading that essay from this collection. And then George Orwell writes about Charles Dickens in a collection of essays. So I'll be focusing on that essay. I will probably do both of these before the trip, and then these I will be reading during the trip. Now, the video is going to be the first assignment for this focus, and then I am also hoping to do a more streamlined, perhaps Substack article, essay sort of thing based off of the reading and the experience. What that's going to look like, I don't know. I've also pulled up some additional media to try and consume. Articles about Charles Dickens. We've got This Is Not the Republic of My Imagination, which is a quote from Dickens. An article, Did Dickens Recognize His Breakthrough? Or Christmas in Dickens' Time. And then several just Charles Dickens, the man who reinvented Christmas, plus some videos. So Charles Dickens, the early years, a kind of biography video, or the drunk history video on how Charles Dickens changed Christmas for the world. Plus, I also found a documentary. None of those need to be consumed, but they are way easier for me to try and get through than full-on books. So I might try and sprinkle them in during the reading vlog. I might not. We'll kind of see how things go. Moving on to the second focus of the month, and that is just general classic Christmas stories. So I have the Penguin Book of Christmas Stories. This is a collection of short stories by different classic authors, and there's 32 of them in total. So I figured after I finish the Dickens vlog, which is the first week of the month, I will start reading these pretty much 2 stories a day for the 16 days leading up to Christmas. And so I will probably do a vlog about this as well. In addition to that, I'll be reading the 2 stories in here, Nutcracker and the Mouse King by E.T.A. Hoffman and The Tale of the Nutcracker by Alexander Dumas. In this case, I will be reading this alongside this one, and the plan is to read roughly 10 pages a day for the 16 days leading up to Christmas. So if all goes to plan, which it doesn't always, I will complete these bit by bit leading up to Christmas and have them be done, and I'll do a video for that as well. So similar to Dickens, the assignment will be a video and then also one possible Substack article. So that's kind of the plan for the main 2 academic focuses of the month. My third focus for the December curriculum is trying to build a writing habit. Now, I did mention I did an outline, and I even started working on the first sections of the rough draft for the main writing exercise that I want to work on. But that's not actually what I'm going to be doing this month. I kind of want to take it back a little bit and just focus on the habit of writing regularly. And I feel like the best way to do that is to have less constraints and less focus and just sit down and be like, I need to write 2,000 words every day for something, whether it's just a creative writing prompt. It could also be working on my Substack posts. I am hoping to do more articles and posts, and I feel like this is a great opportunity to work on that as long as it's a little bit more focused and planned and all of that. So that is something I will probably be doing for some of these writing sessions, but a lot of it I really want to sit down and either work on articles, essays, creative writing, maybe even doing some of the stuff for the writing exercise. But that's not necessary. I want to keep it open so that I can focus more on just building the habit instead of trying to achieve anything specifically. So allowing me to use that time to work on other things, as long as it's not just brain dumping or general journaling, I think it should be fine. I want it to be stuff that theoretically I wouldn't mind sharing. Not that I plan on sharing it because it is practice or exercise, but the type of thing is something that could be shared even if the particular ones won't be. I hope you understand what I mean. But that's kind of the general idea behind it. And the last focus is to continue developing my personal knowledge management system, also known as my analog Zettelkasten or index common book box, all kinds of stuff. But I do want to build that out some, also work on my quote box commonplace cards. But admittedly this month, there's nothing specific that I feel like I need to do in this realm. There are several things that would count towards this focus. One of the main things that I'm trying to do is to digitize all of the physical cards that I have so that I have a backup of everything in case something happens. I do also have a ton of cards that I have added but haven't processed, finished, or found a proper home for, so I can start processing these cards. I can also continue to add new cards and new ideas from the media that I consume to this so that I can eventually process and add it to the box. And I also have the quote collections that I can do for the quote box. So any of those things would kind of work on this personal knowledge management system that I am working on and developing and trying to grow. This focus I'm not too worried about because I've naturally been spending a little time here and there doing different things as part of this. So it's really just to keep that up. And the last thing to go over is my tracking system for this. So I decided to use my project cards to track everything. I do go over this a little bit more in depth in the post if you would like to see, but I have some overview cards for the curriculum itself, along with just general plans for the month or this particular unit of time that I'm focusing on. And then I also have these like weekly breakdowns or scorecards of every week. The first two are fairly fleshed out, and the rest are a little bit more open so that I can see how things go to determine the rest of the planning. And to help with that, I did end up setting up these templates to give me an idea of what I want to do every week and every month to hit my general yearly goals. So I've already planned out the general idea that I want for 2026, which I'm calling Project Productive. It's really just to build productive habits and not really hit any specific goals, although I do have some foundational goals that are keeping me on track or in line with some of this, even though the goals themselves don't matter. It's really the breakdown that matters the most. So things like every week, I would like to work on posting more videos or finishing a couple of books, writing a little bit, or making progress on things that I wouldn't be doing or finishing as often, like the articles that I'm going to be doing, or deep reads of the classics, or even possibly working on some illustration ideas that I have. And then with that, the things that I'm hoping to achieve every month. This helps me to plan out the curriculum and my general monthly task. This helps me to see what I decided for those and keep track of them. And then this helps me to actually try and achieve things on a week by week basis. And that's pretty much everything. The Substack post is my official syllabus, so I'll be using that as a guide for what I should be doing in addition to this breakdown. So that guide is each focus and what I'm trying to do, all of the articles, all of the books, all of that. But yeah, these are the books that I am hoping to read in 2026. That is not at all what I was actually trying to say, you know? That was not that was not what I was trying to say, but these are the books that I am hoping to read in December. I have 2 videos that should come from it and 2 articles that should come from it. I am hoping to finish 4 of these 6 books and then read just a single essay of the other 2. So hopefully it'll be more manageable. So we'll see how that goes. It's possible that the daily writing habit might get pushed back until after crazy stuff at work kind of settles down, but I'm hoping to start that the second week of December once I get back from my trip and finish out the Dickens reading vlog, which I think is going to be really fun. So yeah, I hope this was interesting and enjoyable and even more informative than the first version. If you liked it, include a book stack emoji or some sort of academic emoji. So like writing or notebooks or something like that, whatever you think fits that theme the most. Let me know if you are trying to do any personal curriculums, what you're doing or what you would like to do if you had the time. And yeah, if you have any suggestions for the future or for other posts or vlogs on this, let me know. I am hoping to do more vlogs in the near future and it's working out. You will see as soon as I get through some of the bigger ones that take more time. I have some smaller projects that should be easier for me to manage and that you should be seeing more often. So you'll be seeing a lot more of me in the near future. Hopefully that's a positive for you. So anyway, thank you so much for all of the love and support. Stay flexible, stay happy, read lots, do all of the good things, and I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, bye!